All right, I think we're live, everybody. Good morning, welcome. And Eduardo, can you hear me? Let's do a quick sound check, my man. Can you hear me good?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
All right, let me double check here. Make sure we are connected. I believe we are. I see Seeker is there, my man. How are you this morning? Welcome to everybody who might be joining the chat here. I see Katzor as well. Welcome. Good morning. Hope you're all having a good start to your week. Hello, everybody. We got a good list of topics to be chatting about this morning. We're going to start with news around the DAO space at the top of the hour here, and then at noon, so about 1 hour, we're going to have Billy Jitsu come on from Hive, and he's going to share a little bit about the NFBees project, which is really cool. If you were at the trivia event last Friday, he spoke a little bit about that, but I'm going to save that for him a little bit later in the stream today. So we are also recording, just in case. If you want to catch a portion of the stream a little bit later, we're probably going to do some light post edits, not much, and then post it hopefully this afternoon or tomorrow on YouTube. So really glad you're able to join us, and if you got to dip out, then you can catch some of the stream a little bit later today or tomorrow. If we have any AV issues, so like if I'm up here moving my mouth and you can't hear anything, please don't hesitate to drop something in the chat, and we'll try to adjust it as we go. This is our second stream here, so we're still getting our legs under as we get used to how this all works here. But again, welcome, and let's see here. I want to talk just a second about why we're doing this stream, sort of what the purpose of this all is. And if you've been following us on YouTube, you know we got videos that cover headlines and news from around crypto in the DAO space, and so we wanted to do this live to try to capture stuff in real time and just be able to bring you the latest stuff at the beginning of every week. So Eduardo and I, that's what we're going to be doing every Monday here. We're going to keep it 11 a.m. To start, and we'll cover news, and we also want a chance to interact with all of you. So if you are watching this stream, again, don't forget to drop questions if you have them in the chat. If you're just talking about something and you want us to elaborate on it, or you have a specific question about it, or a comment, or something to share, if you have a link to something cool, please don't hesitate again to drop it in the chat there. Feel free to invite other people as well, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. There is a direct bridge back to YouTube, so again, we're over here on Twitch for a number of reasons, but we're going to be reposting this stream each Monday back over to YouTube. We also hope to get some guests on from partner projects in the near future. I think we're going to have Lindsay and Alex from Hedgie Finance on next Monday, if not next Monday, then the following. And so, you know, we'll be sharing some news with you. We'll have some guests on. We'll have people from Hive to share what's happening around the DAO. So that's a quick overview of what we're up to here. But let's go ahead and get started with these headlines. I'm going to let Eduardo introduce himself. If you don't know Eduardo, he's going to be with us each Monday to do these headlines, and he's the guy who's researching all the cool stories. So Eduardo, you want to take over for a second, tell everybody about yourself?
Sure. I'm Eduardo. I'm from Panama, and I've been in the crypto space for about 2 years and a half. Truth be told, I never expect to be a streamer at my 32 years old. That was something that was not on my radar of things to do, but it's really nice to do the research. So here I am. And I don't know if you want to jump into it right away about the headlines that we want to talk about today.
Let's go ahead for it, man. Why don't you said you want to start with Rarible today? Is that what we want to do?
That is what we want to do. Curiously enough, we were talking about this on our previous sync about Rarible and Rarible DAO, a protocol DAO. So in Snapshot, if you go to Snapshot, you will see that there is a Rarible protocol DAO. And I had to do a little bit of research to know a little bit more about this. And Rarible protocol is a set of tools for NFT builders, and it was developed by Rarible, and of course, and they use the Rarible token too. So basically, it's these are governance decisions over the protocol of Rarible. In this case, they are proposing something quite interesting, and which is proposing the Rarible DAO accelerator. The Rarible DAO basically wants to build an accelerator program that will sit independent with 3 projects that, of course, use the Rarible protocol. So this is interesting. Why? Because it's a sort of a merge of the startup world with the DAO world, and I haven't seen this path cross so often in this way. So I'm curious to know how they will implement this program, and see how maybe other protocols use this method to accelerate the way people adopt their protocols. This is interesting. I don't know how. There are certain things from the kind of real world of startups that are getting adapted to the DAO space. So it's interesting to see how an accelerator program gets adapted to the DAO space and how it works. So they are voting on this. The currently vote is 89 in favor of this, and it ends today, basically. So you can check it out how it will end, but it seems that it will be on favor. So it's interesting. Do you think protocols should be doing this kind of incentivization programs to make their protocols more accessible to other people, or do you think it's too costly, or what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting here. It's akin to a grant program, right? I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to refer to it. The accelerator is definitely a word that I agree is like associated with sort of Y Combinator and other startup VC-oriented things. In this case, they have some specific things that it's going to be these funds will be allocated for, and as you said, it looks like it's going to pass. But yeah, no, I think like in the bigger picture we were talking about a little bit earlier in terms of how Rarible DAO fits or is like related to the Rarible protocol. Let me go back actually for a second. Is interesting. It's sort of like this accelerator program would seem to not only obviously benefit the DAO, but the Rarible, I don't want to say, I guess the brand, but also, the product in this sort of NFT marketplace. So yeah, and I think in general, we've also talked about like when we do these news stories, a part of it is intended to like capture and convey information with regards to where money is to be had. Like if you're a developer or if you're a creative person, if you have project management experience and you're interested in NFTs, well, here's an accelerator, like you should check this out. There's a lot of stories that we share where there's sort of grants to these accelerators. So I think it's really cool that they're doing a lot of stuff. I really think people should go to the Rarible Discord if you haven't been there. They're very active. And we talked about some stuff they had on Twitter too, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a program, just to provide also a little bit of context. It's not only for one project. They are funding up to 12 projects, between 6 and 12 projects. Right. And it seems that it's like a test because they will sort of have a 3-month program. So which at the end will be a demo day to investors, which is more of a typical. So for me, the conversation is, how do you adapt this to the DAO space? Like, if you do an investor day, how do you do it in the DAO space? Do you do it in a community hall, public hall, in Discord? How do you do this? So for me, these kind of things are interesting because whether it works or not, whether a good project comes out or not, just by trying it out, you are sort of experimenting and helping to set new boundaries or new exploration of limits to the DAO space. And I think this is interesting. So, I mean, I wish good luck to the Rarible protocol with this initiative, and I hope they receive good projects. At the end, everyone will benefit with the experimentation of this proposal.
Awesome.
Anyways, that's on Rarible. And then we have Olympus. So Olympus protocol, they have a bunch of proposals right now on the snapshot. 2 of them one ended yesterday and the other one ends today. So basically the Olympus snapshot, the first one that begins in the 17th of November and ends on the 1st of December. Basically, the Olympus community proposes to create their own cross-chain DEX. They aim to do this because this will create a single platform to facilitate all the OHM trading, the OM trading. So right now they don't have a lot of in their favor. It's 61%. It's still favorable. So it's interesting to see how this finishes up to the end of December. And they have two other ones. Another one proposal, which is Olympus is seeking approval to kind of expand the relevant access to governance tokens. And they want to expand the Olympus DAO by doing this. This one has overwhelming votes in favor with 99.77 in favor. And the last one, which ended yesterday, actually, the Olympus DAO proposes to bootstrap liquidity on other chains with around 120K sorry guys, sometimes my English gets mixed with with other languages. So they propose this bootstrap liquidity on other chains. They want to do this because they imply that this will allow them to reach new users, because gas fees in Ethereum. Yep. So they are trying to sort of find other solutions about this. Quick question: what was the lowest price on gas you found this week? For me, I did a transaction on 58 gas fee.
Wow, you're a champ, man. Maybe there's anybody in the audience that's got a lower number. I sure as shit didn't even try. I'm sorry. Like, I don't think there was a point in time where I was like, speaking of Rarible, I was minting on Rarible a year ago and was still like trying to track gas, and now it's like, I don't know, I sort of gave up on that. But the 68 is pretty good. If anybody who's watching the stream's got a better number, or if you got advice on finding, or timing low gas fees, timing I guess is the key here. Alto, by the way, welcome to the stream. I see you joined us. Happy to have you here with us. Seeker's still here, man. I'm glad to hear the volume's doing a little better. Let us know. I appreciate that feedback. We got to sort of tweak the dials when we need to. Yeah, man. I think I don't know. Let's see. My last frustrating experience with that was for the ENS domains. I think I talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Where, it was several $100s to, and this of course is an interesting debate. I don't know if you, so this is a little bit out of perhaps what we're talking about right now, but if people are on crypto Twitter, they've probably seen the dueling banjos or whatever, or the shit posting, whatever you want to call it, between Zusu and Kane from SNX, and it's interesting because it will be interesting to always bookmark those tweets, and we can come back to them in the bear market and see see how things have shake out a little there. Yeah. But to the Olympus DAO, I share this now, and so if you're on the stream, you can see if you go to Snapshot and you like search Olympus DAO, you see that there are 36. Like when you see the little number, like 36 active proposals. And maybe this is a good time just to talk about this, because you'll also see this on a number of other high-profile DAOs. So, Eduardo, what's going on here? What do you think, man? 36. Let's click in. Spam shot.
It's awkward. Yeah, it's awkward. It's a spam shot. And I think it's interesting. We all can learn from this. And I think, hey, this is a learning curve for everything. There's two things that I see right now that are similar. The fact that people are expanding the way they fund and create their working groups for different DAOs. And now the snapshot kind of governance models people are following. And falling into going back to the snapshot thing, since it's so new for many people, these kind of things happens, And what is going on is that I was researching today another DAO who shall not be named, and I entered to their snapshot, and suddenly everything is in Chinese. The last 10 proposals were in Chinese, and I'm like, whoa! Like, did my Explorer change automatically the language of something, or this is like, And it happened in many other. We were exchanging with T-Wolves screenshots of different DAOs. Because they simply, I don't know what is it. Like I'm a newbie also in this sense, but there were some suggestions about the lack of identity protocol that sort of forbid people who have other kind of intentions, because there's no harm on proposing something on a snapshot, as long as it is for governance related topics. The issue is that people are asking things that are sometimes not in this context, or they are not community or governance related questions or proposals. Like there is the last one in Olympus DAO is, at which price will you sell your own? And it's like, what's the point of that? Why don't you go to Discord, maybe, and use a poll, or Telegram to use a poll to get feedback on that. So yeah, what are your 2 cents on the spam shot?
Well, first of all, we got to give credit where credit is due. Chewy is indeed the one that coined the term. Maybe he stole it from somebody else. We're all gonna fork. We're gonna fork the best language.
Yes.
First of all, hello to XDiePunks. Harsh, welcome everybody. I'm glad you were able to join us today. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's this sort of it's the inevitable. Sorry if you hear the background noise. It's a sort of inevitable downside of permissionless platforms, right? And so, and the way to solve that, it seems, is, I mean, it's a form of Sybil attack, right? I mean, it's not an attack; it's a form of spamming, right? And it's. I don't want to blow this out of proportion, but when you go on to some of these multi-billion-dollar DAO snapshots, and you see, spam. Well, and I have on screen right now, right? I think the one that I have on screen. Yes, we have the question, the really important question on the DAO, on the Olympus DAO snapshot is Michael Jackson innocent? I mean, these are clearly no. So, right, the idea is, I actually. So last Friday, if you were at the, I think some of the folks watching the stream were in trivia last Friday, and Adam Stollard, the fellow that more or less founded BrightID, he shared that actually Snapshot has integrated BrightID, or a sort of identity layer to it. And so I'm sure, like, it's silly to think that they're not aware of this issue, right? But how they'll solve it will be interesting. And I'll also add that there was, I think, a headline that I shared. I'm not going to navigate to this page because my computer is possibly at the point of failure. No, it will be good, but I'm not going to, like, if you're watching this stream, I'm not going to change this. I will stay within Snapshot for now, and I'll upgrade my game here soon. We'll be able to toggle around a little more. But the point I'm trying to make here is Snapshot recently raised $4 million. I think this was announced yesterday or the day before. So they got a new round of funding to upgrade and to sort of build the future of DAO governance. At least that's what they're shooting for. So I think it will be really interesting to see how Snapshot evolves over time to address these kinds of issues, and also deal with deeper issues of removing multi-sigs and stuff like that. It'll be really interesting to see.
But at the same time, it's the lack of boundaries in the permissionless platforms. But at the same time, it's opportunity. Like if you see the second proposal below the first one in Olympus DAO, you will see a proposal submitted that says raise the proposal standard, and it seems it could have been anyone from the community, and that also the suggestion of someone from the community stepping up and saying, hey, we can, even if some people do it for good, for wrong, we can also do it for good. So it's interesting how these waters sort of are navigated, because you have if and I hope Olympus DAO are awake to this contributor, if it's someone not from the team, these people are the ones who are relevant for the protocol or relevant for the DAOs, because it's people who care. So I think it's interesting whether it's a spam, whether it's a value proposal who wouldn't be able to be submitted if he's not one of the top contributors, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting because it brings conversations to the tables. Now I have to think about Michael Jackson being innocent or not. So, it brings thoughts to the head. And I think it's interesting whether this is spam or not. So yeah, Olympus DAO besides that, Olympus DAO, it seems they are really making an effort on expanding the range of their token and how they can sort of make it more accessible, and how they connect with other governance tokens. So I can see the path. I can see how they're trying to expand, and it's interesting. And with the expansion that comes from their DAO, of course, will be more of these spams. So let's see in the following weeks how they target this, because I'm pretty sure they realize it by now. I'm pretty sure they are working on it, and we'll see how it goes. And hey, Olympus DAO, if you are listening to this, please reach us back if you have any comments. We will love to hear from you. We will tweet you just in case, because we have talked about you quite a lot today. Anyways, we move on. Regarding funding, remember that I mentioned before that I see this pattern of DAOs seeking for funding for their working groups. People are getting organized. People are understanding how important organization, project management, and working group are in DAOs. Even if they are communities on a Discord, people need to be organized. So Sushi sent a proposal yesterday, November 21, for funding to onboard communities. So basically, this is an interesting one because this is a temperature check. And they basically want to know if the community wants to grow in a more meaningful way, leveraging the multi-chain deployments. So the proposal seeks to fund a team to engage in the growth strategy execution with a focus on marketing and branding with other local chain communities and stakeholders to onboard them and to get sort of a more active contributors and investors in the space for them. So that is interesting. They are trying to fund a team that will be dedicated to onboard communities. Like if people are not coming to you, you will go to them. And that's good. That's good. And then they also had another one. I don't know. I have seen a lot of Tokamak on the past 2 weeks. They seem to be on fire. And this happened on November 10th to November 15th. And it was a proposal to collateralize Sushi on Tokamak. And, it is exactly what the title says. The idea was to increase in the liquidity in the SushiSwap pools and to increase trading fees for Sushi stakers. And the vote actually closed with a 99% in favor. So people were all up for that. And if we're talking about temperature check, I don't know, does the communities that you have been do temperature check on Snapshot walls, or is that something you see common using Snapshot for temperature check?
Yeah, every DAO has, I guess, a little bit of a different process. I mean, it's more or less the same in terms of elevating, but some require temperature checks on Snapshot, I think. It's like, discourse forum temperature check, Snapshot temperature check. Then you have like another forum post that's more of a deeper consensus. We're right, and probably building out like KPIs for your proposal or whatever, and then that goes back to Snapshot. So yeah, it's definitely like I would say temperature checks. Let's be honest. Another reason that we're doing this show. I mean, there's a lot of benefit. Hopefully that we're providing. We aim to provide. And one of those things is alpha, right? I mean, if you see a temperature check for something that would probably lead to good pumpamentals or some sort of attention to the token. Tokamak is a good example here, right? I mean, you have and the way they've set it up for DAOs to sort of compete with one another is interesting. And I think that this in the same ranking here, in the same running more or less was Shapeshift, and we talked a little bit about that as well. So everybody's kind of trying to like use these whatever they call DeFi 2.0 tools, I guess, to leverage and diversify their treasuries and all of that. It's Tokamak is wild.
How will you name it? Temperature check or signaling? Like. What's the word you would prefer to use, or people here think it's two different things?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I mean, by the way, welcome to Lurks. I see you dropped in his stream here. Welcome today. Hope you enjoy yourself. Drop a question if you got it in chat, everybody, and see if you can. I mean, if you want to respond to Eduardo's question as well, like if you think there's a difference in signaling and the temperature check, and I think that like. Signals is just a catch-all term almost, right? I don't know, and so I don't know. Maybe it's a distinction without a difference, or maybe there is a. These are the sorts of things that are interesting to me, though, because as we build there's an industry language to talk about these sorts of things.
Right.
Having a good shared working definitions are definitely important. So
yeah, correct. Yeah, getting the language down, it's key for any industry to grow. And for me personally, temperature check, it's more about a mood, more about a human aspect. What is the temperature check on the community regarding something that is cultural? Mm-hmm. And then for me, signaling, it's something more technical, a decision that if you will say it that way, a temperature check that goes technical, that is not subjective, that it tends to be more objective, for me. That's my personal opinion. Don't burn me on Twitter for this. But temperature check for me, it's more about culture and more subjective, whether signaling becomes more objective, in my opinion.
Got it.
There you go.
That's that makes sense. I like that.
Anyways, shall we move on to Uniswap, the next one?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
They also did a temperature check. I mean, so we can find consensus that 3 DAOs are using the term temperature check. So they are against me on this. And basically they were trying to do a temperature check on, or if Uniswap should incentivize liquidity on Arbitrum and Optimism. The votation ended on November 19, and it was voted on favor for more than a 90% result. And then you added another one about Uniswap. Would you like to explain a little bit about the Polygon deployment?
Sure, yeah. So I'll show really quick, if people are seeing the shared screen here. These are the 2 temperature checks that Eduardo is referring to, having to do with liquidity here. And it looks like everybody is in favor of this. It'll be very interesting. And so then the connections, these are talking about Arbitrum and Optimism, of course, L2s. But then there is this proposal, as you mentioned, up on the Uniswap governance forum, which is not loading on my computer right now. Here we go. So this was proposed, I think it was yesterday, and it is from, just a second here. I'm going to butcher his name, so I really apologize, but he is one of the founders of Polygon. Mihailo, I guess. I'm not going to try the last name. I'm sorry. I really don't like butchering people's last name. But I know this fella. Obviously he is a high in the sort of the crypto pantheon, so to speak. Founder of one of the co-founders of Polygon, and he has requested here formally on the Uniswap governance forum to deploy to Polygon. So this will be interesting. Let's see if they have a poll at the bottom. I haven't read all the way to the bottom. This just came up yesterday. So. You can read through this more. Obviously, he's making the case for deploying to Polygon. I think the timing makes sense. I mean, I know some of the arguments here having to do with, Polygon is sort of battle tested at this point in time. It's proven, and it has this clear intention to evolve into an L2, essentially, or my understanding to fold itself into some type of roll up. Or I don't claim to know all the details here, but the idea is Polygon right now has admin keys and it's a side chain, and so a flagship, Ethereum DeFi protocol like Uniswap, I think, is intentionally not. And it's interesting to see who does what, though, right? Because then Aave goes over, Sushi goes over. So it has been really interesting to see which of the blue chips have chosen to migrate cross chain and which have not. Obviously, Uniswap sort of sits in this unique position where it doesn't really have to, and it just continues to innovate on the layer 1, and has insane volume because folks that have a lot of ETH are swapping there. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Again, hey, this is super non-objective, but 45 likes here. It's got obviously quite a bit of interaction. We'll see next Monday. I think if it's gonna go someplace, it may be up on the Uniswap snapshot by next Monday, but we'll just have to see. Yeah.
I think we could also change the name of this stream to Headlines Butchering Your Name Live. This is a warning. We will have to do every time we start this stream. we will butcher your name, and you will have to be fine with that because I mean, it is what it is.
I apologize in
And
advance.
yeah, exactly. And if you hear this, then just type how we should say your name, and then we will correct it.
Absolutely.
So,
Speaking of which,
and
really
then
quick,
you, yeah, go ahead.
welcome to OX Billy, and I want to say welcome to OX Billy and Maddie and Son again. Maddie and Son. I hope that's how I pronounce it. Both of y'all, welcome. Glad you chose to join the stream today. Do you want? Are we still talking about Uni? What do you want to do next, Eduardo? What do you prefer?
Yeah, we had the one of the central one. Do you want to fill us in with the central one?
Sure. Yeah. Decentraland is it's really interesting, right? I mean, this is again talk about OGs. So Decentraland being sort of the OG of the metaverse. I think most people know this, but there was. Let me pull it up here while I'm speaking to everybody. There was a Snapshot Headlines episode that we recorded probably about a month ago, where I talked a bit about Decentraland. I think it was towards the end of the episode, but one of the things I talked about was the fact that they had started a grant program like in April of this year, and it was like a pilot. And then in September or so, they basically decided to take it to a whole nother level and expand new tiers of grants that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. And so, bottom line is the Decentraland grant program expanded dramatically about a month to 6 weeks ago. And so what we've seen here in the snapshot is a bit of spam, similar to what we were talking about earlier, but also a lot of people trying to take advantage of these grants. So again, we talked earlier, like particularly in the NFT and the art space, like this is really cool. They have Decentraland has a lot of mana available. The Decentraland DAO has a lot of mana available for people to apply for as artists, etc. So I want to talk about I wanted to talk about a couple of those today. Let me actually pull up. I have this on a separate thing here. So I'm gonna I'll try to navigate as effectively as I can here.
I imagine being an investor, or my mother. I will bring my mother to explain her how governance works and how amazing decision making is in the space, and then I jump into a proposal that says $3,000 for an aquarium construction. And I imagine how puzzled my mother would be when she sees that proposal. And it's just, I just love this space. There is no limitation to human imagination. That's all I can say about that.
No, 100%. I well said, man. I think, and a place like Decentraland is a good place to see where people's imaginations are gonna take all of us. And so the first one that I put up here on the share screen is just an example. So they do have a lot of spam and a lot of stuff in there. You kind of got to scroll through, but I pulled out a few I thought were interesting. One was they're gonna build an aquarium, okay, in the metaverse. Now, again, it's interesting. Well, they're getting $3,000 worth of mana to do this. Okay, so this is a tier 2 grant. They have different tiers, and we can maybe look into this a little bit more. You can go back and check out that headlines video. I briefly talk about each of the tiers. And so it didn't get unanimous support, which I think is also healthy. To see some opposition here, almost 1 out of every 5 folks or sort of voters here. But they get into some details here, and I think that there should be a link. Most of the time there's a link to their forum. I don't see it here at the moment. But so there are a number of proposals like this. So I think the tier 1 is $1,500, tier 2 is $3,000. And so it's the idea, if you want to go build infrastructure, you want to build an attraction in Decentraland, you can go get funded to do that, like right now. So here we are, hopefully. I think there's some people on the stream right now who are doing the NFTBees and all that sort of stuff. So in that NFT space, there's a lot of interesting opportunities in Decentraland. I'm going to share a few more here. I'll go in the other direction, actually, though, because I want to give us a second. So we'll show another one here from Decentraland that failed to pass, and this was a tier 1, so this is only $1,500, and they wanted to build live DJ stages, but this did not pass, and by even a stronger margin. I think if you go down and you look at it, compare this one to the other, it's just, and this is pretty straightforward, but this proposal lacks really any details. It's not a serious thing. It doesn't provide KPIs or any type of like objective measurement for how to evaluate it. And yes, in crypto, $1,500, it might sound like it was tier one. I just want to say I'm going to go build it. I mean, again, I think this probably goes without saying, but on one hand, we're telling people right live, it's like, look, there's all this grant money there to go build cool stuff in the metaverse. But obviously, you got to have a serious approach to this in order to get approved. So the money is there to build, but you want to make sure you got a good proposal before you throw it up there. I'm going to say I got two more really quick for Decentraland. I'll save the coolest one for last. Another one, Decentraland, that recently passed is not about sort of like building stuff in the metaverse, but it is more about essentially, my understanding of this is that they're trying to extend the royalties for Decentraland onto other chains. So in this case, I think it's to Polygon, and so they're funding an audit of the smart contracts for this implementation in the marketplace. So again, this would be an example of tier 4. I think there is a tier 5. Like I think there's one that's worth over 100K maybe.
I mean they have the the one that I really like is the behavioral health group.
Yes, I'm gonna go there now.
Mainly because I feel, sorry if you hear the thunders. I'm in the tropics, so there's a lot of thunders. But the thing about like the health one is, I don't know how it is in the communities that we are two walls, but I see a lot of mental strain on people. They get burnt out and so on. So, and let me get like, this is the first time I see in my short life in crypto space that I see actually someone saying, hey, we need to tackle this and we need money to tackle this. And this is something that it's in the description, they even do therapy and so on. And I feel this is so needed for the community. And actually it passed in the forum, it passed with 100%. On a snapshot, it passed a formal yes with 65%, and then a maybe, I want to know more, with 35%. But there was no one against it. No one voted no. So the good thing about this is that there is a clearly either a temperature check or a signaling of the community saying this is needed. And this is just to be a little bit serious in the matter, something we should not underestimate at the crypto space. Or in the DAO space, or any kind of this space of people who, a bunch of us who are introverts, a bunch of us who don't leave their homes quite often, it's necessary to have these spaces. And you spend a lot of time on Discord calls, and sometimes there is not such a single "How are you? How have you been?" And I think these spaces. And I will bookmark this initiative and see where it ends, because I think other DAOs with way bigger budgets and way bigger organizations should focus on this, because it's kind of a passive investment. It's an investment that is not necessarily feasible. It won't be reflected on the token, but it will a lot improve the cultural value of your community for sure. Anyways, back to you.
No, I think that's well said, man. I wouldn't really add much to that. I thought that when I saw this, it really jumped off the page at me. I was sort of, I was really struck by it, because I think that for all of what you're saying there, it's like, and so seeing that funded, and this is not, again, this is tier 4 grant. Right? They're providing some serious money for someone to really stand up a real serious operation here in the metaverse, and I think that's really. That's very cool. I mean, I'm just going to go a little bit just to make a connection here. Like I taught professionally for many years, and I was directing the online learning program at a school, K-12, when the pandemic struck, right? And that was an interesting experience for a lot of reasons. But one of the things I walked away with was like this idea. So a silver lining, of this was that you have this world now where. Hypothetically, okay, you can have a student anywhere in the world, provided with the being taught by the best teachers in the world, right? Through online. Now, certain things are lost and all that, but just the idea that that's possible, you think then of the metaverse we're talking about here is like now you could be increasing accessibility to this is I guess where I'm going, right? Accessibility to these types of things is what it's all about, helping to fix these problems, and I think the metaverse provides a really interesting way in which to do that. So again, folks, we're over here on the Decentraland snapshot, and you can read through this in a little more detail if you want to. This is somebody sort of veteran healthcare provider that is got a, one of the things, again, talking about, if you're interested in going to Decentraland, there's a number of these that have asked for tier 4, so higher grants that they dox themselves voluntarily. I don't know if there's a cultural thing in Decentraland, but like, it seems that there is an argument to be made that obviously by providing some credentials, particularly for something like this, right? It's if you're an anon dev and you can point to your GitHub, you're probably fine. But if you're trying to say, look, let me help people with their mental health, like you probably should not be anon, right? Maybe that's my opinion. I guess you're probably going to find it easier to get grant money if you want to do good, But yeah, let's see. So.
All right. I mean, this is all for. I mean, we still have a little bit of the topic of the spam also on X.chain snapshot. Just a little bit of the same of the other ones. I don't know, guys. I don't know what you think about the spam. I don't know if you have seen it. But if you wake up tomorrow, I want to read something to drink coffee to, just because the snapshot I've seen some of this stuff. It will just light up your day. It light up my day. I found it. For me, what happens is I love when I find naiveness in spaces that doesn't seem too naive. And when I see this, whether it's a spam, whatever it is, but when I find this naiveness in these spaces, I find it so endearing because it's almost like, it's so cute that they are like asking these questions in a snapshot. I don't know. Sorry, I sounded condescending. That was not intentional.
No, not at all.
But yeah, those are the headlines for this week. Nothing else.
Well, hey man, it's been great chatting with you. And Commander Root, by the way, welcome. I see you in the chat there. I'm glad you decided to join us. A reminder that what we've covered so far is being recorded. So this will be copy pasta over to YouTube. You can check it out there if you wish. But yeah, I mean, to Eduardo's point here, X.chain actually does have the magic number of spam here today. And it's right next to a MetaMask DAO that's got almost 100. So again, this is something we're noticing here that I'm sure it will be dealt with. But it's also an interesting dilemma, right? That you have. So we click into X.chain. It's almost like if the DAO is making some news, then it's going to become a target here.
Yeah.
But they got a lot.
It would be nice.
Here. This is
yeah,
really,
and it will be. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I'll put this up on screen. We're looking at request for a formal apology.
Yeah. Imagine someone requests on the Ethereum snapshot something like, "I want an autograph from Vitalik. Can someone give me an autograph from Vitalik?" or something like that. Like it's like no one thinks about doing that. What I was thinking on was it would be nice from the audience, either hearing at Twitch, either in YouTube, to know how did your DAO went around this spam. If you suffer a spam, how did you solve it? How do you work around it? And did you had a manual of good practices for your community? Do you had a template for submitting proposals? Sort of, what did you do to tackle this situation that they are going through right now in the snapshot? So I would love to hear this, and if some of you talk about it or reply to us and here or one Hive Discord or YouTube, we can next week talk about that and just comment on what were your solutions about this problem. It will be highly appreciated also.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Obviously, if you're on Gardens, we don't. This issue is typically resolved through Bright ID, or it's a strong enough, it's a strong enough deterrent. But it is also, by the way, we'll go over and talk about OneHive stuff in a second, but there's a number of things, I think actually OneHive they've passed 4 proposals in the last week or so. There's a number that have come through and one that's pending there. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think that, Bright ID definitely is one way to help us to solve the issue. I mean, I actually think like so. Just to if we've come to the end of our list of snapshot headlines, if there's anything else people in the audience want to share, want us to chat about, or a question that you have, and we can start with this one. I mean, let me just double check and make sure. Yes, on the stream right now,
Sure.
my shared screen is this request for a formal apology from Gnosis, and this is on the XDAI chain snapshot. Like, I really think that this is. I don't know. I understand the sentiment expressed in this active proposal, right? Like it's sort of. This merger is a really interesting thing to just listen to the debate over, right? I mean, I sort of have my own thoughts about it, but to me, it's interesting to see the dynamic play out between Gnosis and XDAI, Gnosis and the XDAI team, Gnosis and the XDAI community, XDAI team and the XDAI community. It's definitely interesting. Do you have any thoughts about that, Eduardo? Or anybody in the audience, if you have feelings about the Gnosis chain or the proposed Gnosis chain merger with XDAI, feel free to share them.
Yeah, I feel there is a lot of wood to be cut, and I think whether it's the XDAI group or the Gnosis group, I felt there were not enough kind of temperature checks. Now that we're talking about that, there were not enough temperature check. My thoughts after a few weeks on this is that it felt more of a core decision that was like vertically sort of given to the community, rather than built with the community, And we are talking about a chain that uses a lot of the DAOs uses a lot of this tooling. We are not talking about a foreigner kind of actor. No, we're talking about people who were seamlessly deep into the DAO space. So I'm really curious to know their thought process to pull this out, like how they arrived to a conclusion, where is the consensus. I like, and I'm sorry if I'm overstepping people's job and I haven't realized it. Please, we want to know about this. We want to know how was your process to reach to this proposal, and also I would love to know what will be the next actions. How will you consider your community? How will you receive their feedback, and where are the sort of key points that you take out of this consultants, this temperature check that you did on the forum, and the AMAs that they did and so on. Like, how do you absorb this feedback, whether it's good or bad? And I will be highly interested, because this is a challenge. This is a challenge for every DAO, and especially two that are very well known in the community, because their decisions will impact a lot of people. So even the change of the name, if you just enter one day in your MetaMask and now it's not called XDAI chain, and you think all your XDAI thing is lost because you just don't see it. Something as simple as that. So I would love to know, like, what will be the following steps now that they have gotten a touch basis with the community, with their own respective community. So that is an interesting process to follow, and we will keep following it here in the headlines for sure, and we'll keep commenting on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that consensus word is magic for me too. Like, the extent to which there was an attempt to build consensus, is interesting. And it was. If you're in the audience and you have strongly felt feelings about this, again, feel free to share or ask questions. If you haven't had a chance, like last week there was, I think it was Thursday, there was in the XDAI server there was a Q&A sort of between, there was a discussion between folks on both core teams, and then they took questions from the audience, and then the XDAI team posted that. Obviously, it's their YouTube, so go to XDAI YouTube, you can check that out. If you also go to the XDAI Gitbook, they have, I think, a link to the video or embedded video, and then they also have the top 10 or 15 questions, I think, they were asked by the audience. So they've actually sort of extracted the questions on a text base if you'd rather use that. I'm just trying to share. If you want to get more information about this merger, I think it's good to check out the video from last week and or the XDAI gift book for more information there. Cool.
For sure.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to share with us today, Eduardo, headline-wise, or what are you thinking? If there's anybody in the audience, if you've got questions, other headlines you want us to chat about? Yeah, I see NFBees is coming. We're going to get, I think Billy's going to join us, Harsh, here soon. I'm trying to keep an eye on chat here. I don't know how far behind I am in terms of the lag here, but we'll be talking about that soon here. Have you gotten into any NFT projects recently, Eduardo?
Yeah. I am friends with the guys from Doing Good, and they just launched last week. So congrats on that. Launching a product is always good. And their token name, it's Amor, which is the Spanish word for love. Yeah. So I don't know. It's looking forward. It's interesting. Doing Good is an interesting project. So let's see how that develops. And they are NFT based mainly. And I took a look at, there was this what was the name? There was this DAO focused on photography, and I'm a photographer, so I took sort of a few looks at their organization. I'm just trying to look, what was the name? Oh, here it is, Unique One. Unique One, and they launched Unique Photo for photography. But man, that was a tricky process to be part of that. And then there is another one that I just missed, and they focused only on plus 18 artwork, like painting that will be censored on Instagrams or drawings, photography, and they have a creation, so it's not like, oh, pornography can go directly there. No, that's not the point. So it's an interesting NFT market because it's focused on plus 18 kind of artworks. So that's another one that is called NFT treats. That's the one. That one. So I don't know. I haven't minted anything yet. I don't know. I'm a film photographer, so I'm updated, and I like my real life NFT. I'm kidding. Eventually, I will probably mint one of my film photos, just for the sake of being part of that. But yeah, that's it. That pretty much is my experience on NFT, actually.
Did you say you're thinking you were part of a project that launched on Unique One, or is that we're doing good? I'm sorry, I lost that plot there.
No, it's okay. I don't know if my connection is weird or it's you who is also a little bit like, I lost your video sometimes. Yeah, so I'm friends of the guys who launched Doing Good. Okay. And I have seen how they have worked hard for launching the project. So looking forward to see their project coming alive. Launched last week, so that's nice.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm following them on Twitter too. I'm looking forward to that as well. Awesome. They have one of the best. They have one of the best video edition on the space. Like their videos on Twitter and Instagram are on point. The way they produce and they like within a day or two. If they went to Lisbon, within a day or two they have already the content filtered, the interviews and everything. They have a very good marketing and video production. So kudos to them for that. Absolutely. I'm going to put it up on the screen really quick if people haven't seen Doing Good before. I'm going to leave that up. I agree. I think the first video I saw them was a great distillation of an interview they had with y.at from Gitcoin.
Right.
I mean, the cuts were excellent. Yeah. So it's definitely worth checking it out, folks, on Twitter, or maybe if you're online. It's an NFT ecosystem, right? Cool. Very cool.
All right.
Well, sir, thank you for joining us this morning, and have a good start to your week.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course,
Thank you, man. And thank for everyone who stay until this point. Take care and see you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And we're going to be
Bye
back
bye.
actually in a few minutes here. So I'm going to put the sort of break screen on, and everybody on the stream will be back in just a few minutes. We'll see you then. Here we go. I think
There
we
we
show
go.
audio now. Yes, indeed. This is our second stream. Those of you who are here, thank you for sticking around across the break there. Welcome back. We have Billy Jitsu here from One Hive to help us get some alpha and hear a little bit, get excited about this NFT project that is happening in One Hive. So I'm gonna mute myself here, and Billy, take it away, man.
Yeah, the NFBees. What can I say? Stumbling onto the like huge swarm that One Hive is, like somehow fumbled onto this kind of forum post. Hey, let's do some profile pictures and a lot of talk, a lot of things. So like, hey, what's going on? Let's pick it up, and we've kind of flourished from there. We've got a lot of stuff going on there. Where it's really the focus is cross community. Like One Hive is involved with so many other projects, but I don't even know what was going on. I think my biggest example was like when Bright ID actually had a gardens. I'm like, well, what's gardens? And I didn't even know that you could market that. So I've been in the One Hive for like months, and I had no idea that was happening. So the goal was to like get artists from all the communities to represent their community. I thought that was like really cool that like if you have it on the screen, like Shapeshift, we're doing the joint liquidity with Bright ID. They were using the gardens, and there's some incentive farms before. So like if you weren't really like constantly active in Discord, you had no idea what was going on, or that even One Hive was involved. Like I use Xpollinate, and like that's how I found One Hive, because of that little logo. So
Interesting.
with the NFTs and people, yeah. So with the NFTs, I'm like, well, okay, like if people are sporting those around, kind of sporting their community NFTs, it kind of raises awareness of like, hey, like that's part of this project. What else is going on? And it'll kind of educate what's going on with like the whole community. And in a short essence, I mean, we're trying to get as many people as we can as possible, but any project manager knows that handling so many people is just a headache. Like where everybody's DAOing, not doing, so it's a whole thing. But we are moving along. We are progressing pretty fast. I am the dev now. I'm the lead dev. I'm also the project manager. It's a whole thing, but it is very, very cool. I mean, it's fun. I think a lot of people are having fun with the project. I think everybody's having fun except me. I'm having fun too. It's pretty daunting. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately it's an open choice. Your piece is falling out here, but yeah, like right now it's going to be a 333 drop. We wanted to make affordable. It's like, all right, One Hive. I mean, this I think it's a very valuable project, but we want to make it accessible to everybody else in the community too. So it's going to be 33x DAI. It's a small mint drop, so 3,333. So like for the NFT speculators, I think we'll have a good floor, honestly. And like someone that doesn't really like the whole NFT thing was kind of like I kind of let it pass me by. I wasn't too interested in it, but like seeing the art and seeing like what all these artists are coming up with and their ideas off the same template, I'm like, okay, I got to get this one. I got to get this one. So I'm like, I myself, that's really not a person that's bought an NFT. I'm now into it now. I'm like, this looks so cool. I like this concept. So I'm really hoping the community likes it. There's a lot of buzz going on, and like really the project as well. There's a lot of people learning a lot of things about NFTs. Like I've been pretty open about it with what I'm doing, my struggles as the dev. We have our Gnosis safe because we want to protect the funds. It's not all going to go to me. So people are learning how to use the safe. People are learning about NFTs in general, how to do generative art. There's just a lot of educational content for people just to peep in. So it's just nothing but good content. And ultimately, the ultimate goal is to pay the artist. Artists are always working and they're always making flyers. They go kind of unappreciated in a sense. So the largest portion of our budget is going to the artists, and then we're also setting aside a treasury for each artist that has their community representative. We're putting a portion back to that community. So like I've got we're have a meeting with Luigi tomorrow to see what's the best way we can help with that portion of their treasury. And Bright ID, we're talking about adding liquidity to Honey because after the incentives went away, there were a lot of people pulled out because the degens moved on to something else. So we took a snapshot of the top 100 top contributors on there. And then we wanted the active people too. We don't want people that were here like, in the beginning of the year and then took off. So it's to the top 50 people that's on the forum post. Again, we kind of put it secretly out there to see who's actively on the forums and looking. So they would have first shot to get on there. So if your name's on that list, check out the forum post. we also put it in, I think, the pollen distribution. So it's there, it's floating around. So it's been half claimed so far. People have been filling out. If your name's not on the list, you ain't gonna make